Okay, time being 7:30, I'll declare the meeting open. The Town of Walkerville would like to acknowledge the Kaurna people as the traditional custodians of the land we're meeting on today and respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We recognise the many generations of stewardship the Kaurna people have provided to this land and respect that their cultural heritage and beliefs are as important today as they were for their ancestors. Present at the meeting, we've got all other than Councillor Zeppelin, who has sent in an apology, and staff in attendance is there as set out on the screen. And no leave of absences. Are there any declarations of interest for this evening?
Yes.
Councillor Trosha.
It relates to the, I think it's 5.2, which is the bowling club. My husband's on the committee of the bowling club. I will stay in the room and I will vote.
I have a declaration as well for 5.3 major project scope variations. It's on resident of an adjoining property to the W site. So the general interest, I'll stay in the room and vote on that.
Yes, and so we'll move on to item 4, which is the decision reports, and 4.1, fees and charges policy. We're just waiting for Mohammed, who hopefully is coming with an update of the fees and charges of the version that was attached to the agenda. I asked a question and it was not the latest version, so I would like us to see the latest version in print before we make a resolution.
Can I also request, if possible, Mayor, that the updated version is actually in the minutes, so the community, if anyone is looking, sees that we're actually approving an updated version.
Sorry, can I clarify what you mean by that?
Well, currently the community's got the wrong version of the
agenda.
Of the agenda.
Oh,
They've got
yes,
the wrong
sorry.
version.
Yeah.
So in the minutes, you're right. So fair question. In the minutes, I would request that the actual community see what we're noting. So even if you have to reattach the fees and charges, the updated one, because otherwise they're seeing we're approving an incorrect version.
Yep, good.
That might give the perception.
Pardon?
Sorry, through the chair, you don't have version numbers, so if you're modifying this version, even though it was as at that day, we don't have like a version 1, 2, 3, it's just...
So what's listed when the agenda was published is technically incorrect.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you modify this, how many times do you put a version number on it so you can find it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, through the chair. What had happened was that we were under some time crunches, so Mohammed and I were working on this. We had added the correct references in there, but when we went to format at the last moment, it had dropped out.
Okay.
So we did save it correctly, but unfortunately we just used the incorrect one. So it was just an administrative error.
Yeah.
As long as it's in the minutes, it'll be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions on this report or the revised fees and charges?
I'll ask a question, however it may be a stupid one, because it may be picked up in this and I part of the weekends haven't had a chance to go right through it. But is there anything in the fees and charges here that we might approve now that comes up in the bowling club lease when that hasn't been approved as yet?
Through the chair, so these are the fees and charges that you're approving now, and then the bowling club lease just referred to these adopted fees and charges policy.
Yeah, okay, so what I was trying to do is make sure that the agenda, the two
Yes,
agenda
agenda
items,
is fine.
the two agenda items were in the right order.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
It is a good point though, Councillor Williams, because I think it does actually say in the report that we've granted the lease. That it's, that the club has been completed and leased to the bowling club, which it hasn't.
Yeah, so in going through it, as I said, going through it quickly, I was thinking that the bowling club item may need a little bit addressed first.
That probably, yes, that thought did cross my mind as well. That would probably be a better number. Is there a view on that?
Otherwise, you could be approving some fees and charges prior to approving the lease in which they occur.
Yeah.
Should, on the reverse side of that, if you didn't endorse the bowling club lease, we would then have some fees and charges that we could use to lease that out in the interim. So it is somewhat a chicken and egg, but it does, I think the order still does make sense. It does give us what the fees and charges will be regardless of who manages the facility.
Does it need to pay for
Yeah, just chicken and egg.
If you prefer, you can bring forward item 5.2 to be before, we can discuss that now, prior to fees and charges. You can bring that forward by way of 2/3 majority and discuss that first, but that's up to you.
Well, it's probably semantics, but I would have thought that you would need to have the lease approved before you could put those costs into the fee and charges. But I'm not. Yeah, and I'm happy to move to bring it forward as that would make everyone happy.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
Does it require a resolution or just show of hands?
Show of hands.
Who would like to change the order of the agenda to bring forward the item to do with the bowling club lease?
Obviously, it's a confidential item, so we'll have to go into conference. But yes, I'm happy to.
Show of hands, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we'll do that. So we're going to abandon 4.1 and we're going to move to item 5.3 of the agenda.
And I'll move that we go into confidence if we have to do that.
So, it's not 5.3, it's 5.2. Okay, so we're at item 5.2, which is the Bowling and Community Club draft lease. And so the first item is to go into confidence. Thank you, Councillor Whip, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All those in favour? That is carried. So the time being 7:39, we've moved into confidence. We'll move to item 5.3 now. Or am I supposed to go back to? Well, I don't know whether we can deal with that one now.
I think we need to.
4.1.
We'll need to, I think, in terms of it, probably defer.
Okay, so
Again,
item
I'll move that the item 4.1 be deferred to come back to a special council meeting. So I agree with Councillor Williams that they need to be dealt with in the order he was stating. So that needs to be deferred as well.
Thank you. I think Councillor Williams seconded that. Anyone else like to speak for or against? All those in favour? That's carried.
5 points.
Okay, so now back to item 5.3, major project scope variations, and we'll start off with a resolution to move into confidence, please. Thank you. Councillor Ripp moved and Councillor Trotten seconded. All those in favour?
Sorry, I think we've missed 5.1, which is the RSL discretionary, sorry.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you're right.
We'll change that, 5.1, make that resolution 5.1.
Okay, sorry, 5.1, Walkerville RSL discretionary rates rebate application. So to move into confidence, we have Councillor Ripp and seconded by Councillor Trotter. All those in favour? That's carried. At 8:03 we've moved into confidence. Okay, now we'll go to 5.3. And I'm just going to warn everyone that if we get to 8:30, I need to adjourn this meeting, commence our second special meeting, and do that, and then we can come back to this meeting if we haven't finished it by 8:30. So, item 5.3, we'll start off by going into confidence. Councillor Ripp, thank you, and Councillor Trotter has seconded that. All those in favour? That's carried. Time being 8:08, we have moved into confidence. Okay, the time being 8:30, I'll declare this meeting open. The Town of Walkerville would like to acknowledge the Kaurna people as the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on today and respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We recognise the many generations of stewardship the Kaurna people have provided to this land and respect that their cultural heritage and beliefs are as important today as they were for their ancestors. Present, we have everyone there other than an apology from Councillor Zeppel and the staff there is set out on the screen. Are there any declarations of interest for this evening? There are none. So item 4, decision reports, and 4.1 is to do with landscaping and stormwater runoff behind the Walkerville Oval goalpost at the Smith Street end. Given the late calling of the meeting, there's no written report, so we'll receive a verbal update from administration.
I can probably kick that off and then I'll let James take over. As we may have mentioned before, the current layout of behind the goalposts and the landscape and stormwater was an interim measure to ensure that the building was finished. It was always intended to landscape the area behind to do something with the stormwater and runoff. Which at this stage we haven't determined what that will look like or what the costs are. We've done some preliminary work on the what could go there. I think if James, if you want to pick up on some
yes, so the
recent...
area in question is the runoff from the car park. So the actual building runoff goes through to Smith Street. There was a requirement under planning design for the facility that we must treat stormwater from the car park, given that it is a some runoff, oils and things like that. A vegetated swale was included as part of the design that was approved by council. But what we're looking at now is when that swale was constructed, obviously the functionality of that around, I think we mentioned it in a couple of workshops around just the goals and the football oval, particularly the ballast rock that's used to stop washout and slow water down. We've had a look at it and said, we'd prefer to probably bring something back to council that has, more sort of suitability towards, spectator sports, so irrigated grass, seeding and that sort of thing. So that's something that I think tonight we're saying research options for landscaping, stormwater runoff. Unfortunately it was a requirement of planning. The other thing was if we were to underground it, the stormwater system, underground network is on the other side of Smith Street. And we also need to put in a gross pollutant trap, which has a stormwater treatment device, which would probably have cost us. I would hate to put an envelope figure on it without, but you're looking before, you're probably looking at 20 grand for an inline treatment system. So it is there for a reason. It looks a bit ugly. I will, attest to that, and I don't think it really well, as in more with football, I think with cricket it could have worked. But when you've got a lot of spectators around the goals, and I think Councillor Williams and others have spoken about, that game day for football, and, to have a rock swale isn't probably ideal. So, we'll take that on the chin and bring something back to council that's more suitable, that, my outside staff and also, a landscape contractor can come up with something, hopefully pretty low cost.
Just see if we'd like to suspend standing orders for discussion on this point. With a show of hands, please. Thank you. So at 8:34 we will suspend standing orders. Any discussion? Councillor Williams?
I'm happy to kick it off. I see that area behind the goals there. If you put any plantings in there, and probably anything other than grass, it will be a high traffic area. People will, because there's no path that links up from the other car park, other than the footpath, the other car park, other than walking around the drain that goes around the oval. Any planting that you put in there, people will walk. They won't go up on the street to come down the ramp at the bowling club to walk in front of the retaining wall. They would definitely walk through there, and they would just traipse through any planting that you put there and flatten it. So that's why I see grass as probably being the only option. I have actually been over there just about every day this week as well to see, last week, and it rained on Monday and it didn't really rain again much, and that water there, and I know the solution was only temporary, that water remained there virtually the whole week. And I'm assuming, I also saw at the bottom of the water there was like a green that's to the bottom of it. I was making a bit of an assumption, having done some work with car parks before, that the oil and the asphalt more than likely is part of that water and that issue there. So that's just how I see it. I think to me it's as clear as can be. You just need to grass it, maybe put a seat there. It'll get used for viewing as well, most definitely. But also wanted to ask about, there was a plan at one stage for netting to go behind the goals, and at one stage we were going to bring that forward to stop the balls going into the building site while the building was occurring. Are those plans still there? I thought that was part funded by the agreement for the Oval Precinct. Are the plans still there for netting behind the goals?
Through the chair, we did look at it as part of the open space work, so that's the cricket nets, tennis courts. It's not included in the scope as yet, so that project's still progressing. I guess if council wants to revisit that and bring some pricing through. But with footy season now complete, we haven't sort of included it in the front end of the open space project. But I think it is something council will need to consider before the next football season.
Well, you're right, it's not urgent now that the footy's over, but I actually thought it was part of the open space project, and I didn't recall us ever pulling it out.
The chair wasn't included in the tender. I do recall, the tender that went out to contractors to build that stage, but I do recall workshopping it with council. It just hasn't made it into the scope yet. We'd have to bring any pricing back before we approve the variation like that. Through the chair, just to finish, the contractors who are on site, as in LCS now, PM Sports, they do netting, so it is something they can do for us. They're the same company that did the cricket nets, but that's something we're willing to take back if the council wishes us to explore that. But it would probably be worth tying that into this landscape design if we're bringing that back to council.
I guess it's really just a matter of whether council sees it as being an issue with football's always gone on the road there, so it's whether council sees that as a big enough safety issue, but also whether there's a safety issue with the car park there. If we were putting netting up, where we might put the netting might be slightly different to where it was originally envisaged as well. And I did actually mention to the CEO once before my personal opinion too. I think I might have even mentioned to Councillor Ripp once, is that that could help one of the issues, particularly with the car park down there now, is You would only have to move the goals at each end around one distance between a point post and a goal post.
Yeah.
Move it around, you would equal up the pockets on the oval, and then you would take some of that kicking away from the car park, which could solve the problem. But I know there's probably a bigger discussion would be needed around that, but it's just a thought that I've had. It may well assist you with the car park issue.
Yeah.
And it may balance the oval better than having weird pockets at both ends.
Yeah, through the chair, we did remove the, as James said, we didn't have the netting funded as part of the budget. I think there was some scepticism around the chamber whether the netting would actually solve the issue. So we did find a workaround to keep to retrieve the footballs, which seemed to work. I think we thought that we'd see how things went to see if a future budget we need to put the netting back in. And as you rightly say, if you twist the oval a bit, you're probably getting away from the car parks. That's my understanding, the car park was actually closer under the old arrangement.
Yeah, no one parked there though, because they knew they'd just get in the car and get some. Wasn't just it was only away teams who were silly enough to park.
And your other observation, I made a similar observation last Thursday, where I was over at the bowling club, that water seemed to drain, even though it didn't seem to have drained, despite the fact it hadn't rained for a couple of days. So that's something certainly we'll have to investigate, whether we have to put in better soakage or drain or something there to ensure that doesn't hang around, because we did have a decent amount of rain that would hold a decent amount of water, which would similarly cause issues for football during the winter. So there is a bit of work to work out what that looks like as an end product.
So I think I also sent an email, might have been to yourself and James, about whether there's an opportunity to link that drain up to the one that runs the whole way around the oval.
Yeah.
Because the one that runs the whole way around the oval used to have a form.
This further drain. So the new design, and just on the water ponding, so rain guard, that is how it's supposed to work, but it hasn't been planted. We've sort of said that's why it's not going to work behind the goals. So if it was fully planted with a lot of filtration media in it, it would work as such to treat stormwater. But yeah, we've looked at it and gone, well, you know what, for doing that, we'd rather us do that and do it better, as in take away from the builder. They're just going to do what's on the plan. So yeah, I feel as though between council staff and council, we can get a better outcome that meets the stormwater requirements, but is more functional, particularly for football season. But yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I've got a question on how it relates to the noise, sorry. But just back on the netting, could that been part of the grant funding that we could have, we gave grant funding back to the state government?
Yeah, I think it could have been included in
Was
that.
that included?
Through the chair, it could have been included had we approved it.
Is there any chance we would still tap into that? Because netting's not cheap. Like we just throw money everywhere at this meeting. In our last few meetings, we're just mindful of other projects we've got coming up in the future. I mean, that's a capital item.
Yeah.
We've got other things that we keep talking about, levies and everything else. Anyway, so what is the actual capital
So has the plan for planting behind those goalposts now just reverted just to grass?
Well, that's what we'll bring back to council. So we've held up from planting that swale and doing much more with it until we bring it back to council. We feel as though as part even the sports club, like we're have to run past them as far as what works on game days. Where do you need hard stand areas, like where do you need footpaths? Like if people like look at Councillor Williams said, if they're going to be walking through it, like there's no point planting it. So I feel like it's probably just a little oversight through the design process with the bowling club, but it's probably more a consultation piece with the sports club. It won't affect the building, it won't change open facility, it works. It's just, we need to sort of go back to the drawing board and do something more palatable.
Through gives them more environmental safety.
Through the chair, probably not environment, probably just more safety, like functional safety, as in like kids walking and.
More mental.
Yeah, it just needs to be less stormwater, more, pedestrian sort of focus, spectator focused, I guess. Yeah.
We used touching before of a bit of sliding, like a detention type.
Well, that's sort of how it's designed, yeah.
Yeah, but currently we're not so hard. I mean, I'm still talking turf over, for the meeting across turf over and water will sit with that major event.
The only thing
But
with
it will soak eventually.
because I was thinking, you just grass it, or just grass embankment, that in summer you never know it's stormwater, and then in winter it's stormwater. I guess the problem it'll have with that is just if the grass is always wet, you can't mow it and things like that, it gets boggy. But a workaround, like talking to Greg, the maintenance team, like he wants that area grassed, like even, where that little embankment is, people can sit there and watch the football and things like that. So he's working on a plan. We just need to sort of bring it back.
Most detention basins in urban areas now.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. We can still make it
They are designed for public use.
Yeah.
But then they've got that second, or the primary purpose is actually that bit of detention when they're jumping under events. So, I mean, that's what major developments are doing.
We can still
get
do it.
usage.
That was the sentiment, I guess. It's just whether at this scale and how close we are with the oval. It's all very tight. We don't have a lot of space for a base or a swale, but I feel as though we can get a good balance of both.
I just mean that. It is lower than the.
Yeah, it's lower.
Just mean you realise that embankment. Water.
The idea is just fill up through filters through.
Right.
Yeah. But we can. I'm sure we can bring something back.
Okay, so when can we expect it to come back?
What was I say there? At a later date. No, I'll probably. We want to get the bowling club in, get the site, like car park landscaping and go ahead, so that's just planting and all that. So this probably needs a little bit more work and is outside, I guess, the bowling club scope, but I would say, maybe a month.
Get something in a few weeks, I think.
We do have some slots for special council meetings. I mean, I could be brazen and say 2 weeks, but I'd like to have something that's pretty concrete, do a bit more work. If council's okay with, maybe a workshop in late October. I'm not sure, I don't have the schedule in front of us, but I think we've got some free space opening up soon.
I'd be happy to put it in by the end of October.
I don't think we're in a hurry for it now.
Yeah.
Free season's finished.
Let's go.
By the end of October.
Unless you want suspended stay. Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Okay, so we've got the resolution that we've been talking about, is that we receive and note the verbal update and what was really provided by the CEO and administration. And that administration research options for the landscaping and stormwater runoff behind the posts and present the information to a workshop. Is it, are we researching the options for landscaping, or are we just saying it's grass?
I'll just say a turf option for.
It's more about researching the options to do with the stormwater runoff.
Just say lawn area with stormwater runoff, sorry.
For the stormwater runoff, for the stormwater runoff.
I think it is still landscaping and stormwater. I think it's both. I mean, for stormwater runoff, you get what you've got currently. I think we're trying to achieve some drainage area, but making it softer and more pleasant.
I thought we're trying to get rid of the water from there.
Sorry?
You can't really plant in that area.
No, but I thought that's the work that we're trying to do.
We could landscaping and stormwater rocks. Look, I think it reads okay. Like landscaping's turf.
Yeah, landscaping is whatever tree you
Yeah,
use.
tree would be anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, through the chair. Yeah.
Okay, so councillor Williams is moving that, so we're back in meeting procedures. It's seconded, I think it was councillor Rick by the skin of his teeth.
Score a mute, check the footage. Believe it was touched.
Okay, anyone else like to speak for or against? All those in favour? That's carried. So this meeting is closing at 8:48.